What's up, friends? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all doing well. For today's video, I'm going to be doing a full review of the new Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 2 Rose eyeshadow palette. I'm going to be doing a full demo, swatches, comparisons, everything for you guys. I also have both of the new eyeliners that came out as a part of this collection as well. So if you guys are interested in my thoughts on these products, keep watching. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, guys. It definitely helps me out. And if you are new here, welcome. My name is Sophia. This is my channel, Sophia Sees Beauty, where we talk about all things beauty and makeup. I upload content every single week on all of the newest beauty releases, especially those on more of like the prestige and luxury side. So if you want a little bit more beauty in your timeline, definitely hit that subscribe button. I would love to have you as a part of my community. I will be linking everything that I mentioned in this video in the description box down below, including everything that is on my face today. And without further ado, let's get into this collection. All right, friends, let's talk about this beautiful new eyeshadow palette from Patrick Ta. I was really excited to try this. I know that about a year ago, he launched a very similar palette, but it was more so on kind of like the neutrals and gold side. That was Major Dimensions 1. I'll put up an image here. If you're watching this video, you're probably already familiar with that. So this is the second iteration of that palette, and obviously we're getting these really beautiful kind of pink, rosy, mauvey tones. And obviously this has been a very popular type of color story for the past year or two. So you guys are probably wondering what these swatches look like, how it might be different from other palettes in your collection. So we are going to get to some comparisons soon. But this palette can be purchased on the Patrick Ta website. It also can be purchased at Sephora. That's where I got it, and it retails for $68. So it is pretty expensive, and I think that's honestly, guys, why I didn't end up picking up Patrick's first palette. You know, these are all neutrals. They're neutrals, so definitely ask yourself, like, do you already have something like this in your collection? Because it's definitely more of that sort of prestige and luxury price point. Sorry, I'm like blinding you half this video with this palette. It is just so reflective. I was really trying to control the reflection in the camera while still holding up the palette so I could talk about it. So sorry about that, guys. Bear with me. It's just so shiny and pretty, the packaging. It's very, very reflective, okay? So what are we getting out of this palette? First off, what is kind of unique about this palette is that you have these two cream shades. These are cream eyeshadows, and I will show you guys in the demo how I like to apply these to the eye to sort of create this look that ties everything in together. You're also getting 5 matte shades in sort of a range from light to dark, and then you're also getting 5 shimmer shades. Now, the most unique thing about these shimmer shades is that they really are quite glittery. They're not so much a kind of like smooth metallic formula. They are basically what Patrick is promising us based off the title of this palette, which is multi-dimensional. They're very multi-dimensional. And what I think is really cool is that these 3 shades that are in the middle are actually duochromes. Now, they're not like indie brand duochromes. They're very subtle duochromes. But if anybody knows how to keep up with the trends, it's Patrick Ta. And we all know what's in trend right now: rosy tones and sort of like duochrome shades. So he's giving us what we want, okay? Everybody seemed to be very, very excited about this palette, and for good reason. You have the trend of creams, you have the trend of rosy tones, and you have the trend of the duochromes. So you guys are gonna be able to see what it looks like when I apply these on my eyes in just a second. Before I get into the comparisons with the eyeshadow palette, I do wanna show you guys both of the new eyeliners that he released as a part of this collection. I am pretty familiar with this formula because I have one of these in a different color. Now, the shades that he launched here are Burgundy and Copper Gold. Burgundy is exactly as described. It is a matte burgundy shade. I'm wearing it on my eyes right now from the demo. And Copper Gold is actually pretty unique compared to the other eyeliners in his collection because this one is very shimmery. It almost is mimicking the duochrome nature that you're getting from the shadows. I kind of smeared it out in the swatches so you guys could really see that glitter. It is very much a gold with kind of a gold and pink shift, like a gold and pink glittery shift, I guess you could call it. And I will note that this particular formula in Copper Gold, it's definitely creamier and more blendable than any of the other eyeliner colors that I've swatched from Patrick Ta, whereas the Burgundy tends to be a little bit more in line with his other formula. In general, this formula, I think sometimes it is not the most blendable of eyeliner formulas, but it really does set down. These eyeliners typically have fantastic longevity, and if you're someone that doesn't really like eyeliners that you have to sharpen, this might be really good for you because it's just one of those little swivel sticks, and then the tip is just so small and thin that it is really easy to get really close opposed to the lash line. So my general thoughts on this formula is that it's really good. It's not the most blendable, but it has great longevity. So just want to mention that right off the bat because I do have experience using these eyeliners with the other colors in his line. Before we dive into the demo, I do want to jump into some quick comparisons of the eyeshadow palette because I know a lot of you guys, this is what you're asking me about. You're trying to figure out, is this worth the $68? Because this isn't like a new color scheme at all. So let me take you through a couple of comparisons with other palettes. The most requested comparison was with the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk family. I would say that this palette in general has very much like Pillow Talk vibes. So I want to show you guys just kind of an overview shot of what this looks like up against the new Pillow Talk Dreams quad. I have a full review of this quad and the full collection from Charlotte Tilbury already live here on my channel. So you guys can check that out if you want a little bit more details. But in general, you can see here, the tones are pretty similar. They're pretty similar, but they're not the same formula. I think in general, the mattes are pretty comparable. They're both very soft, very blendable, but the biggest difference with the Patrick Ta formula is that these shimmers are much more glittery and multi-dimensional, and they also have that kind of duochrome effect. That is the biggest difference that you're gonna see here. I also have a shot here of what this looks like up against the larger Pillow Talk palette, the Pillow Talk Instant Eye Look, I believe it's called. And you'll see here too, like there's some like similar shades in there, but the Charlotte Tilbury shimmers in that palette, they're definitely a little bit more of like a traditional metallic, and you're definitely getting more like pinkier, rosier tones in that palette, whereas the Patrick Ta, it's a little bit overall more warm tone. Like this is a warm tone palette. If you don't like warm tones, don't get this palette. And obviously with all the palettes I'm going to be comparing this against, none of them have these cream shades. So you kind of have to take all of this into account. But I wanted to show you guys, if you have a lot of Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk products, you know, they're not the same. It's definitely not the same formula at all, but you are getting a lot of the very similar tones there. Next up, I want to show you guys a quick shot of this compared to the Natasha Denona Retro palette. I actually don't think these palettes are that similar. The Natasha Denona palette, it's just a lot more purpley and mauvey. Like I mentioned, this is definitely a warm toned palette. I just don't think that you're getting the same tone in the Natasha Denona Retro. If you want something that's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more, I don't want to use the word sophisticated because it's not like this isn't sophisticated. It's just like, I think that the Natasha Denona shadows are a little bit more refined. You're getting more textures in there and you're getting more of like a mauvey tone as opposed to this like warm tone rose. Similarly, I compared this against the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette. This is another stunning palette, but once again, this is definitely a little bit more like purpley and mauvey leaning. I would say that that one is almost closer to the retro than this is to Natasha Denona Retro. It's just not really the same tones and the textures are a little bit different. I would say Huda Beauty, she does tend to use very glittery shades as well. So if you want something that's kind of comparable, but it's not just so warm tone, the Rose Quartz palette actually might be a really good option for you. Next up, I have two palettes from Sigma. We first up have the Rosey palette. Now the Rosey palette is just, it's exactly what it is. It's just rosier. It's more so like a pink tone, pinky purple tone. I don't really think that these palettes are that similar. It's definitely a different tone. What I do think is more similar though is the Sigma Cor de Rosa palette. I think that you're getting a little bit more of a variety of shades in the Cor de Rosa, and I swatched a couple of the shades here that I thought might be a little bit similar. But once again, the Patrick Ta is just more of a glittery tone, but I think with the Cor de Rosa, you are getting a lot of very similar shades in there. The Cor de Rosa has a little bit more like hints of gold mixed in. Like I said, it's more of a diverse array of shades, but I think, you know, looking through all of the palettes in my collection, the Cor de Rosa is one of the ones that is the most similar to this. A couple more here. Next up, I have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam. I definitely, when I look at this palette, I kind of get the same feeling that I get when I use the Soft Glam. The main difference here is that the Soft Glam, it's just more gold. It's more neutral leaning. In fact, I think that the Patrick Ta, the first palette that he launched in this collection, is probably similar to the Soft Glam. So you're getting a bit of a similar vibe. It's very like warm, it's very sultry, but it's not as rosy as this one right here. Next up, I have one of the recent quads from Pat McGrath. This is Voyeuristic Vixen. One of the reasons why I picked this is not only because it has kind of like those rosy and gold tones, but also because it has a duochrome, a very glittery duochrome. And when you swatch this, like there's like a little bit of a similarity between the shades. I honestly would say that the Pat McGrath glitters and shimmers in this quad, they're just a lot more pigmented. I honestly think that they are better quality than the Patrick Ta. At least they swatch that way, and it's been my experience using that palette as well. I think that palette is just a little bit better quality, but that being said, you're kind of paying a lot for 4 shades, but there's a little bit of similarity there in terms of the tone and the fact that you're getting a duochrome with a lot of glitter. All right, friends, so I hope that those comparisons were helpful for you. Now that I have all of that out of the way, let's get into the demo where I'm gonna be putting all of these products on my eyes. Okay, party people, I've got you up close. Let's now dive into this new eyeshadow palette from Patrick Ta. I have the eyeshadow palette, and then of course I have the 2 new eyeliners as well. So we're gonna be using both of these, so let's get to it. I'm gonna start off by going in with this medium shade in the crease with a Wayne Goss number 16 crease brush. And I noticed when I put my brush in there, it does kick back. This is what seems to be a very powdery formula. So let's kind of see. Yep, that's pigmented. I'm just gonna dust my brush off a little bit. Wow, okay. It's very pigmented, guys, but it's more of a powdery formula, so it does blend. And I just wanna show you guys, you can use this lighter shade here to blend around the edges. I really like that he included that. So see how it just kind of like melted it into the skin. So I'm definitely gonna be using this shade here as a blender shade. Just doing that on the other eye. I'm actually not going into the creams first. I'm gonna do that right before I apply the shimmers, because I think if I put the creams on first, these super blendable shades, they might kind of stick to it a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna try today, and we'll see how that goes. Wow, that looks beautiful. It blended out so seamlessly. These mattes, they are truly very buttery. Don't be afraid if you get a little bit of kick up in the pan. A lot of times that just means it's going to be super blendable. Like, they don't need to be super creamy formulas. Something super powdery like this kind of reminds me of like an Anastasia Beverly Hills type of formula. I'm gonna go 1 shade deeper into this matte right here, and I'm using this little blending brush from Sephora. And I will link everything that is on my face and all of the brushes that I'm using in the description box down below in case you guys want to know and to shop those. Building up a little depth in the outer crease, as is tradition. Now I'm gonna go in with the cream on just the lid because I don't want this to crease. I'm not really sure how these are going to wear because they do seem very emollient as opposed to something that would be like a drier formula, like maybe a MAC paint pot or something of that nature. That would be more of a primer. I'm not so sure if these are gonna be great primers. I think that the reason he has these here is to really get these glitters to stick to the eye. So that's how I'm gonna treat them. And I'm just using this little Sephora concealer brush. This is the concealer number 71. And I'm gonna go into the lighter of the 2 shades, and we're just gonna put that on the eye. Nice. It applies very smoothly. Wonderful. And I'm just being careful not to like really get it up into the crease. I don't want to ruin anything that we just did. And it looks really great. It doesn't look like it's really disturbing anything. I'm using a Rephr number 3 to do the same thing on the lower lash line because we're going to see if we can get the shimmers to stick to this as well. These creams really go on very, very smoothly. Like, they don't skip at all. The question is just, how do they set down? Now for the moment of truth, I'm gonna go in with one of the shimmer shades. So I think I'm gonna go in with this one, and I am using a Sonia G Builder Pro. This is a little bit of like a smaller flat brush. So we're gonna see how this goes. It's definitely like a little bit, do you guys see that? It's like a little bit chunky. I don't know. It's all about how it goes on the eyes. So I'm just tapping off my brush and I am pressing it onto that cream. Very pretty. This is probably the most duochrome of those 3 kind of duochromy shades. And yeah, you just have to be very careful with this because I do think that if you're not careful, you're gonna get fallout for sure. I'm gonna take this lightest shade and I'm gonna try and put that, oh, let's tap off the brush. I'm gonna try and put that like right here. See how that goes. I'm also gonna put it in the corner of the eye. Taking this matte shade right here and just kind of putting that on the outer corner. I like to always connect what I did on the top on the bottom. I'm gonna see if I can use my finger to build it up a little more. I don't know if that really made a difference, but I certainly think that you could use your finger for these if you're worried about fallout. That might be a cleaner way to really press the glitter onto the eye. I'm now gonna go in with a deeper shade. I'm gonna do this one right here, and I'm using a Rephr number 12, which is just this very dense brush to see how much more, whew, there's like dust coming up from this. I don't know if you guys can see that. See if we can like really stamp that color on into that inner corner. The mattes in here are very, very nice. They're very easy to use, very blendable. And you can see that it is completely possible to build up these colors. And this isn't even the darkest color. Like this is the darkest color right here. I'm just, you know, I'm going for this kind of tone today. I'm also bringing that color just kind of like up into the crease, and then we're gonna blend it out. Now I'm just blending it all out with that little Sephora brush that I used earlier. And once again, I'm using this lightest shade here to just really clean up the edges. So this is the look so far, guys. I'm really liking this, and I did go check in my mirror and I didn't get any fallout. So using the technique that I did, totally great, using the cream as a base to get this really pretty shimmer to stick. I thought this was really easy to create. Now let's use the eyeliners. So here I have the Burgundy shade. I'm gonna be doing this one on the top lash line. Doing eyeliner on camera is always it's a little bit tricky, I'm not gonna lie. You can see it goes on pretty well. I feel like this one is definitely creamier than some of the other ones that I have from the Patrick Ta line. I don't know if he changed up the formula, if it's because of this pigment, but I do like that the tip is very small so you can really get at the root of the lash. I just made this little baby wing, and then what I like to do is just kind of drag it out a bit, and I'm using a Rephr number 23 to do so. And sometimes I'll take my nail and I'll just kind of drag it out a little bit. Sorry if you can hear my neighbors next door. I like to just kind of soften all of that up. So I just made like a nice subtle little wing, and now I'm gonna go in with this other color. What is this called? Copper Gold. And we're gonna put this one on, I guess, like the inner corner and the lower lash line. This one definitely feels a lot creamier than my other Patrick Ta formulas that I've used. Ooh, that's really, really pretty. That was very easy to put on. I don't know if you can see that. But like, there's definitely kind of like an indentation of where it was kind of pressing up against my lash line right there. So you can definitely tell that like this formula for this color, Copper Gold, it's definitely a lot creamier than his other eyeliner pencils. Like some of the other ones, they skip a little bit, and they don't skip a little bit. It's just a little bit more of like a waxier formula, but then they stay all day. This one seems like it's really ideal to be putting all over the eye and smudging it out for a little bit more of like a glittery effect. It goes really good on this lower lash line. So I just wanted to mention that because if you guys have some of his other colors, this is going to be a little bit different. It's just softer, creamier, more blendable. And I think I like that because this is a lighter shade. I'm not trying to be as precise. I'm just trying to add a little bit more like shimmer in the inner corner and the lower lash line. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, friends, so this is the final look. I just put on 2 coats of the Rare Beauty Perfect Strokes mascara. And yeah, I think this is an absolutely stunning look. I thought it was very easy to achieve. I think you just need to be a little bit careful when handling the metallic shades because they are pretty glittery, but the cream shades in the palette definitely help to control all of the fallout. I didn't get any fallout from this palette, so I'm honestly very, very pleased. I think it looks good. Comment down below and let me know what you think of this look. Is it cute? Is it different? I'm definitely looking over into the mirror next to me. I don't know if this is coming off on camera, but I'm definitely noticing that sort of like duochrome effect on my eyes. It is noticeable in person. I don't know if you can appreciate it here in the camera, unfortunately. I'm just filming here in daylight, but when you kind of see this in real life, they definitely kind of sparkle and shine, and you definitely get a little bit of that very subtle duochrome effect. So now that we are done with the demo, let's hop into my final thoughts. All right, friends, now it's time for my final thoughts. I'm gonna be telling you what I think about this new collection from Patrick Ta and whether or not I think it is worth it. I think in general, this is a very nice eyeshadow palette. I think it's a nice eyeshadow palette. if you enjoy glitter and multi-dimension. Patrick Ta is telling us right off the bat, this is gonna be major dimension. It's major dimension, and you're getting that with the glitters, you're getting that with the range of tones. And you guys saw in the comparisons, while we have seen this color story before, this still is a really good quality palette, and he's bringing something a little bit different to the table with the cream shades and with these very kind of like high shine, glitter, slightly duochrome shades. I don't have anything exactly like this in my collection. I definitely have things that are similar. I think the most similar would be the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk collection and probably the Sigma Rosa palette if you guys are looking for something that is a little bit different. But the Charlotte Tilbury is very expensive in and of itself, so I can't really say that it's like a good alternative to this palette, because all of those palettes are still pretty up there in price, I would say. I think that this palette is for somebody that really enjoys neutrals first and foremost. You really are into these kinds of rosy tones, but maybe you want something that's just a little bit more glittery, high shine, sparkle, multi-dimensional. Then that's who I think this palette is gonna be for. I definitely don't think that this palette is like a necessity, but that being said, when friends and family reach out to me and they ask like, what's a good eyeshadow palette, or like what's a good gift that I can get so-and-so from Sephora, typically I recommend like the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk collection, the like Huda Beauty, more like nude palettes. I recommend Anastasia Soft Glam palette, and I think I'm gonna be adding this to that list of recommendations because I think this is just going to appeal to so many people. And I was reading the comments on Instagram when this first got posted and people were just losing their minds. It was either that people really liked it and they were really excited about it because the color story is just absolutely stunning, or they were like, oh, that's so boring, I've seen this color story a million times. So it's like you either are into this or you're not. The only critique that I have of this, to be honest with you guys, is that I do wish that not all of the shimmer shades were so glittery. I really wish that like maybe 2 or 3 of them were more of a like satiny, traditional kind of high shine metallic, something that you would find like from ColourPop or Charlotte Tilbury or Natasha Denona, because I feel like that would have given me more options in terms of the types of looks that I could create. I could have like 2 or 3 of those sort of more metallic looking shades, and then maybe 2 that were more glittery to like really add a little bit of pop and shine. That's really my only critique with this palette. Other than that, I think that the quality is fantastic. You just have to ask yourself, like, do I really need this in my collection? Do I already have this color story? As you guys saw, like I already have a lot of like pink, rosy, and purpley tone palettes in my collection. Hey friends, Editing Sophia here. I have been wearing this eye look for a couple of hours now. Basically, I've had it on all afternoon, and I just wanted to show you how it is wearing. I definitely noticed some significant creasing here where the cream shadow was applied, and so can you see right there how it's just like kind of creased and pulled away? So I wanted to show you guys that. I definitely have to maybe take this palette just 1 notch down for that reason. I think I'm going to be trying just the cream shadows on their own to kind of see how they wear. They are very, very emollient. And so I just wanted to mention that I think that if you were to use an eyeshadow primer and do exactly what I did, you probably would have much better luck because it's just like more grippy and long wearing. But with the cream shadows underneath, it wasn't the best experience, as you can see. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. Didn't have as much longevity as I would hope from a $68 palette, but I'm pretty sure it's just because of the cream shadow underneath. So I want to mention that so you guys can make an informed purchase decision. You know, 2 of the shades in here are those cream shadows. So if you don't think you're going to use those cream shadows, I just want you to kind of take all of that into account when making your decision. So I just wanted to update right there on kind of like a longevity wear test. Lastly, in terms of these eyeliners, I think that these perform really well. If anything, I think that these are a little bit creamier than the other ones that he has in his collection. They have very good longevity. I think if you were to get one, you really should get this one that is called Copper Gold, the lighter of the 2, just because I think it plays really well with the eyeshadow palette. It's got a little bit of that like multi-dimensional duochrome shift. The Burgundy one is also stunning, but like if you have other Burgundy eyeliners in your collection, you definitely don't need this. These These are $26. It's pretty expensive. I got all of this in the Sephora sale that's going on at the time of me filming this review, so I did get 20% off. So that was good. Like, I got a little bit of savings on these, but in general, I don't think you necessarily need these, but they are a fantastic complement to this color story of the eyeshadow palette. So yeah, guys, those are all of my thoughts about this collection. Really fantastic collection, great performance, great quality. Just really depends on if for you see yourself really adding this color story to your collection and if the $68 is worth it to you, but definitely comment down below. I know a couple of you guys already told me that you picked this up in the Sephora sale, but I would love to know your thoughts down below. What did you think of the look that I created today? Are you interested in this, or do you think that it is just like one big snore, like, oh, we've seen this all over again? Definitely sound off in the comments down below so we can start a little discussion. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up for me, guys. That would definitely help me out, and if you are new here, definitely consider subscribing to my channel. I hope that you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.